US debt just crossed 100%. Should we be worried? And what does that even mean? Find out on this edition of the Video Market Update. The US hasn't crossed the line since World War II. And I want to put this chart up as we have this discussion so you can kind of view where we came from and where we are. Our national debt is now larger than the entire economy. It sounds terrifying, right? But let's break it down. As of early 2026, US debt hit $31.3 trillion. If you add in the intergovernmental debt, we're getting close to $40 trillion, which means that is slightly higher than the entire gross domestic product of the United States. That puts us at 100% of debt to GDP ratio, a number that economists watch closely. Now, there's nothing magical about 100% versus 98% or 99%. It's not like everything will just break overnight, but what it signals is that the US is currently spending $1.33 for every $1 that we bring in, and we are running a $2 trillion deficit. So that is a structural problem. And as debt grows, typically three things happen. First, interest costs go up. And not only do they go up, they magnify, they take off, they explode, whatever language you want to use. About $1 in every $7 that the government spends is going to interest on the debt, and that number is only going up. Second, higher rates across the board can affect mortgages, car loans, credit cards, potentially student loans, any type of debt that you're accessing. And third, the government borrowing can crowd out private investment, which could slow economic growth. So while we're not Greece, and if you remember the Greek debt crisis of the early 2010s, we control the world's reserve currency, and treasuries do remain a safe haven around the world. So we're not looking at a collapse type scenario, but it is a long-term issue that needs to be looked at. Projections show that debt could reach 120% of GDP by 2036 and 175% by 2056. Fixing it would require some big, major spending cuts, tax increases, and probably both. Politically, that seems difficult. There is one side of the aisle with politicians and economists that believe in something called modern monetary theory, which essentially means debt doesn't matter, right? Deficits don't matter. You have the other side that says, oh, debts and deficits absolutely matter and they're a terrible thing, but they do nothing to correct it and nothing to corral spending. And if you look historically, both parties have become massive spenders of money that we don't have. So what's the bottom line? This isn't a reason to panic per se, but it is a reason to pay attention because long-term fiscal trends eventually show up in portfolios. They show up in the way that bond yields will perform. It will show in the confidence that people have in the US, i.e. companies, and then that could lag performance. So we've seen this before. We can go back to that chart. We've seen this before, right? And we were able to survive out of it. But in that period of time from then and now, there were some rough periods of too much spending and too many global events that hurt the economy. So again, once we hit that 100%, it doesn't mean we've hit a tipping point, but it means we better start paying attention because before we know it, we will hit that tipping point and it might be too late. So I thought that was interesting. I wanted to bring that to you. If there's any questions on this or anything you're seeing in the news, let me know.